What if everything you thought you knew about money was wrong? For centuries, money has been controlled by a handful of powerful institutions. Banks, governments, they held the keys, they made the rules. But in 2008, when the global financial system shattered, it opened a door. It made people look for a different way to do things, a way to build a new kind of money. Today, that idea has matured. Bitcoin, once a fringe concept, is now being embraced by major financial institutions and is widely seen as a new asset class, a different way to store value. This is the story of that evolution. This is the full story of cryptocurrency. This is a long story, so grab a coffee, sit back, and relax. We're starting from the very beginning. Here's a map for our journey today. The full list of chapters with timestamp links is in the description if you want to jump directly to any part. Part 1. Digital money before Bitcoin. Part 2. The roots of cryptocurrency. Part 3. The 2008 crisis, a turning point. Part 4. Bitcoin's birth and first days. Part 5. So what exactly is Bitcoin? Part 6. The early altcoins. Part 7. The Ethereum revolution. Part 8. The power of smart contracts and DeFi. Part 9. Solana and the race for speed. Part 10. The rise of stablecoins. Part 11. NFTs, digital art and ownership. Part 12. The dark side, meme coins and scams. Part 13. Beyond currency, blockchain in the real world. Part 14. Crypto goes mainstream. Part 15. The future of crypto. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Digital money before Bitcoin. To understand where we are going, we have to look back at where we came from. Imagine the world in the early 1980s. The internet as we know it didn't exist. Computers were these big, beige boxes that sat on desks. And they were just starting to connect to each other. But money? Money was still very much a physical thing. It was cash in your wallet, or a check you had to mail, or a credit card transaction that a bank had to approve. There was no easy, instant way to send something like digital cash directly to another person without a bank in the middle. The banks were the gatekeepers of all value. A brilliant computer scientist named David Chaum saw this problem, and it bothered him deeply. He wasn't just a programmer, he was a fierce advocate for privacy. In 1983, he wrote a research paper that introduced a groundbreaking idea for online money, and he called it eCash. His dream was simple but radical: to let people pay each other online with the same privacy and anonymity as handing someone a dollar bill. His solution was a new kind of math called cryptography. He used it to create a digital banknote that was digitally signed by a bank but was completely untraceable by the bank once it was in your hands. So you could pay someone and the bank would know the money moved, but it wouldn't know who you paid. It was an elegant solution that could protect the privacy of every user. A few years later, he founded a company called DigiCash. The company tried to get banks to adopt this new way of thinking, to let their customers send money online without having to share personal information. But DigiCash was just too early. The internet wasn't ready, the banks weren't ready, and the company eventually faded away without much success. But the idea, the seed of private digital money, had been planted. The roots of cryptocurrency. As we move into the 1990s, a new generation of brilliant minds starts thinking about digital cash. These are a group of thinkers and programmers called cypherpunks. They were obsessed with privacy and using code to protect people's freedom. In 1998, a man named Wei Dai talked about B-money. He envisioned a system that could run all by itself, without a middleman. No company, no government, no single point of failure, just code. Then Nick Szabo imagined BitGold. In his idea, people would use their computers to solve difficult digital puzzles, and as a reward for solving them, they would create new digital coins. These ideas were just that, ideas, but they were foundational. They helped build the future that we know today, brick by digital brick. The 2008 crisis, a turning point. The year 2008. It wasn't just a year on the calendar, it was a turning point. The global financial system, which everyone thought was indestructible, suddenly started to crack. It wasn't a quick shake. It was a slow, painful grind that lasted for months. The financial machine that had powered the world for decades began to seize up. We saw huge, once trusted banks crumble. The housing market collapsed, and with it, the life savings and dreams of millions of people. The biggest banks were deemed too big to fail, and governments had to step in and spend trillions of taxpayer dollars to bail them out. It was a moment of immense public disillusionment. People felt betrayed. They looked at the system and asked, who is this all for? And why should we trust the very institutions that failed us? It was in the middle of this widespread chaos, this global crisis of trust, that a secret creator, known only as Satoshi Nakamoto, published a short 9-page paper online. It wasn't a loud announcement. It was just a quiet technical document titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Satoshi's paper was a direct answer to the crisis. He wanted to build something new, something that couldn't fail the way banks did. He proposed a form of money that could live entirely outside of the control of companies or governments. The core of his idea was to use math, not trust, to make every single payment public and transparent, while still keeping it safe and secure. The rules were out in the open, for anyone to see and anyone to join. It was a bold idea, a system that worked for everyone, not just a privileged few. Bitcoin's birth and first days. The moment arrived on January 3, 2009. That's when Satoshi Nakamoto created the very first block of the Bitcoin blockchain. This block is known as the Genesis block. Hidden inside its code was a message. It was a headline from a British newspaper that read, The Times, 3 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. This wasn't an accident. It was a permanent record, a timestamp showing exactly why Bitcoin was created, a clear statement about the broken financial system it was designed to solve. It was a message etched forever into the very first block. Just a few days later, on January 12th, the first ever Bitcoin transaction took place. Satoshi sent 10 Bitcoins to a computer scientist named Hal Finney. Finney was a cypherpunk, and he was the first person brave enough to receive this strange new digital money. He later said he thought he was just a geeky guy playing around with a new project, and he was a little nervous about how it would turn out. In those first few months, the community was tiny. Just a handful of brilliant minds trading a few coins back and forth. They used their computers to mine new bitcoins, a process that was so simple at the time you could do it on a regular desktop computer. They were just experimenting, building a new kind of trust. Then came the first moment Bitcoin was used for something real. On May 22, 2010, a programmer in Florida named Laszlo Hanyecz made a post online. He offered to pay 10,000 bitcoins for 2 pizzas. He wrote, and I quote, "I'll pay 10,000 bitcoins for a couple of pizzas, like maybe 2 large ones. I like having food delivered or picked up so you could just order the pizza yourself and bring it to my house or something." A user from England named Jeremy Sturdivant saw the post. He accepted the offer, and for about $40 he ordered 2 pizzas to be delivered to Laszlo's house. It was the first real-world transaction with Bitcoin. Today, those pizzas would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The entire day is celebrated as Bitcoin Pizza Day. But before the pizza, something even more foundational happened. People needed a way to figure out what a Bitcoin was even worth. So on October 5, 2009, a website called New Liberty Standard published the first ever exchange rate. $1 was equal to 1,309.03 Bitcoins. This was a crazy calculation. It was based on the simple cost of electricity to run a computer to mine a single coin. This was how they decided its value. A few weeks later, another user made a post on the same forum, selling 5,050 bitcoins for just $5.02 via PayPal. This was the first time Bitcoin was ever traded for US dollars. It was a tiny transaction, but it proved something huge. Bitcoin could be exchanged for real value. It was no longer just a hobby for a few computer geeks. It was money. So, what exactly is Bitcoin? How does this magic work? How does Bitcoin exist without a bank, a government, or a company watching over it? It all comes down to a few key ideas that work together perfectly. First, there's the blockchain. Imagine a giant, transparent filing cabinet that lives on thousands of computers all around the world. Every single Bitcoin transaction is a piece of paper that gets put into this cabinet. The papers are grouped together into folders, and once a folder is full of transactions, it gets a unique digital fingerprint and it's sealed. This sealed folder is called a block. The magic is that each new block is permanently linked to the block before it, forming an unbreakable, continuous chain. It's like a chain of custody for every single Bitcoin transaction in history. And because thousands of people have a copy of this giant filing cabinet, it's impossible for anyone to go back and secretly change or delete a piece of paper. Next, there's mining. This is the heart of the system. Think of the miners as a group of digital record keepers and auditors. They don't just add new blocks to the chain, they compete with each other to do it. It's a race. So how do they win the race? They do it by solving a difficult, complex math problem. It's not a puzzle you can solve with a simple calculator. It requires massive amounts of computing power, like trying to find one very specific grain of sand on an entire beach. This process is called proof of work. The puzzle is designed to be hard to solve, but the answer is incredibly easy for everyone else to verify. When a miner finds the solution, they get to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain, and they receive a reward of brand new bitcoins. This reward is the only way new bitcoins are created. It's an incentive to keep the network running, secure, and honest. And here's why this is so safe. To cheat the system, to change a transaction, you would have to redo all the work and solve all the puzzles faster than every other miner in the world combined. That's a practically impossible task. So every transaction is public and visible on the blockchain, but your identity is private. You're known only by a long string of numbers and letters which acts as your address. It's this delicate balance between public transparency and personal privacy that makes the system so unique and trustworthy. It's not based on trusting a bank. It's based on trusting the math. The early altcoins. Bitcoin's code was a gift to the world. Satoshi Nakamoto had built a masterpiece, but they made it open source. This meant anyone could look at the blueprint, copy it, and change it. And that's exactly what happened. This led to a creative explosion of new digital currencies, which we call altcoins, short for alternative coins. The developers of these early altcoins weren't just trying to copy Bitcoin, they were trying to improve it. They wanted to fix what they saw as its problems, or adapt the technology for a different purpose. First came Litecoin. Its creator, a former Google engineer named Charlie Lee, had a simple vision. If Bitcoin was digital gold, he wanted to create digital silver. His goal was to make Litecoin a faster, more accessible version of Bitcoin. To do this, he changed the core mechanism for creating new blocks. Remember proof of work, the system where miners compete to solve a difficult math puzzle? Bitcoin's puzzle was getting so hard it required specialized, expensive machines. Litecoin used a different kind of puzzle called script. This was designed to be much easier for a regular person's computer to solve. It made mining more fair and accessible for a time. It was a race for speed and accessibility. And it worked. Litecoin's transactions were much faster than Bitcoin's, making it a viable alternative for smaller payments. But the biggest challenge to Bitcoin's approach was a different idea entirely. What if we didn't need all that computing power and energy? This led to the creation of Peercoin by a developer known as Sunny King. Its white paper laid out a revolutionary new concept called proof of stake, or POS. Here's how it works. With Bitcoin's proof of work, it's a brute force race where the most powerful computer wins. It's like a marathon where you need a lot of physical power to win. With proof of stake, it's like a lottery where the person with the most tickets has the best chance of winning. Instead of competing by solving a puzzle, you compete by holding the most coins in the network. The more coins you stake or lock up, the higher your chance of being chosen to validate the next block and earn a reward. The result was a dramatic reduction in the amount of energy needed to secure the network. It was an elegant solution to a major problem. This era of early altcoins was a time of fearless innovation. Each new project was a different experiment. Some even explored new ideas like coin burning, where a portion of coins are permanently destroyed to control the supply and maintain scarcity. This period showed the world that the blockchain was not just a one-trick pony for payments. It was a foundational technology that could be remixed, rebuilt, and reimagined for 1,000 different purposes. It was the first step toward the rich, diverse ecosystem we know today. The Ethereum revolution. If Bitcoin was the first step, a new kind of money, then what came next was a quantum leap. In 2014, a brilliant young programmer named Vitalik Buterin had a new idea. At the time, he was heavily involved in the Bitcoin community, but he grew frustrated. Bitcoin was great for payments, but it was limited. It was a calculator that could only do one thing: add and subtract money. Vitalik wanted a programmable blockchain. He imagined something bigger. He saw a blockchain that wasn't just a record of payments, but a shared global computer that could run any program. It was a big, audacious dream, and he called it Ethereum. So, instead of just a digital notebook, Ethereum is like a digital world. A world where you can build anything you can imagine with code. The key to this new world is the smart contract. Think of a regular contract but written in code. A smart contract is a digital agreement that lives on the blockchain. It automatically executes itself when certain conditions are met. Imagine a simple vending machine. You put in a coin and the machine automatically gives you a snack. You don't need a person to oversee the trade. A smart contract works just like that, but for any kind of digital agreement. It's a digital vending machine for money, property, and ideas. Ethereum's own currency is called Ether, or ETH. It's not just a coin, it's the very lifeblood of the network. Every time you use a smart contract or make a transaction, you have to pay a small fee in ETH. This fee is called gas, and it's what fuels the whole system. This is a crucial point, and it leads to an important difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin. While Bitcoin has a hard limit of 21 million coins, Ethereum does not have a fixed supply cap. For a long time, people saw this as a weakness. But in 2022, Ethereum underwent a massive change. a technical upgrade so significant it's known simply as the merge. The network shifted from the energy-intensive proof-of-work system that Bitcoin uses to a new system called proof-of-stake. This change had two enormous effects. First, it made the network over 99% more energy efficient, a game changer for its environmental impact. Second, it changed the supply. Now, instead of miners earning huge amounts of new ETH, the new ETH supply is much lower. And to add to that, another major upgrade known as EIP 1559 introduced a burn mechanism. This means that a portion of the transaction fees from every single transaction is permanently destroyed or burned. It's taken out of circulation forever. This creates deflationary pressure. When the network is busy, more ETH is burned than is created, making the supply of ETH scarce. This is why you've seen a surge in ETH's price and its growing status in 2025. This quote-unquote supply squeeze, combined with its growing usefulness and adoption, has made it a powerful asset. Just like with Bitcoin, regulators have now approved Ether ETFs, allowing major institutions to invest easily. It's no longer just an experiment, it's a key part of the modern financial world, a platform for endless innovation. The power of smart contracts and DeFi. Imagine a world where you could send money, take out a loan, or trade a currency without ever going to a bank. No banker, no middleman, no paperwork, just code. It might sound like something from a sci-fi movie, but it's happening right now. Over the past few years, the world of decentralized finance, or DeFi, has exploded. Just a few short years ago, the total value of money locked up in these systems was barely $1 billion. Today, that number has surged to over $100 billion, a truly staggering sum. This whole new financial universe is built on a single, powerful idea: the smart contract. In this part of the story, we are going to walk through what smart contracts are, how they power DeFi, what you can do with them, and what risks you need to watch out for. What are smart contracts? The idea of a smart contract isn't new. As far back as 1994, a computer scientist named Nick Szabo imagined a digital contract that could be self-executing. But it was only with Ethereum's launch in 2015 that this idea became a reality. A smart contract is simply a piece of code that lives on a blockchain. It's an agreement that automatically runs when certain conditions are met. Think of it like a vending machine. You don't need to talk to a person to buy a candy bar. You just put in the money, the machine checks if the conditions are met, and the candy bar drops out. The rules are baked into the machine itself. A smart contract is a digital vending machine for money, property, and ideas. Once the code is deployed, it can't be changed. It's transparent, it's automatic, and it doesn't need a lawyer or a bank to enforce it. The contract enforces itself. What is DeFi? Now, take that concept and apply it to an entire financial system. That's what DeFi is. It's an ecosystem of financial products and services built on the blockchain and powered entirely by smart contracts. Instead of a bank, you have a smart contract that handles loans. Instead of a stock exchange, you have a smart contract that handles trading. The core components are the same as traditional finance: lending, borrowing, trading, and earning interest. But in DeFi, there's no central authority. There are no corporate fees or long waits. Everything is handled by code. Platforms like Uniswap are for trading. Aave and Compound are for lending and borrowing. These platforms aren't owned by a company. They're just collections of smart contracts that anyone can interact with anywhere in the world. It's a parallel financial system being built from the ground up. And that massive growth from $1 billion to over $100 billion shows just how quickly it's catching on. How smart contracts enable DeFi. So, how do these two ideas work together? It all comes down to a few core features. Automation. When you use a DeFi app, the smart contract automatically executes the transaction. If you want to lend money, you send it to a smart contract, and the contract automatically starts earning you interest. There's no waiting for a bank employee to approve it. It just works. Transparency. The code for these contracts is public. Anyone can read it. It's like having a bank that publishes every single rule and every single transaction for the world to see. This creates a level of trust that you can't get with traditional finance. Interoperability. Smart contracts are like digital building blocks. A developer can build a new app by connecting existing contracts together. One app might let you lend money to a contract from Aave, and then another app might use that loan as collateral to give you another loan. It's like Legos for money. Security. Once a smart contract is deployed to the blockchain, it's immutable. It cannot be changed. This reduces the risk of human error or backroom deals. Real-world use cases. Let's bring this to life with a few stories. Lending and borrowing. Meet a small business owner in a developing nation. They need a small loan to buy more supplies. In the old world, a bank might deny them because they don't have a credit history. But in DeFi, they can go to a platform like Aave, deposit some of their crypto as collateral, and get a loan instantly. No credit check, no questions asked. The smart contract simply holds their collateral and releases it when the loan is paid back. Trading. Imagine you want to trade one cryptocurrency for another. With a traditional exchange, you have to deposit your money, wait for it to clear, and trust the exchange to hold your funds. But with a decentralized exchange or DEX like Uniswap, you connect your wallet directly to the smart contract. You control your money the entire time. The trade happens instantly with no one in the middle. It's a pure peer-to-peer transaction. Yield farming. Think of yourself as a digital farmer. You have some crypto and you want to grow it. Platforms like Yearn Finance use smart contracts to automatically move your money around to the places where it can earn the highest return. It's a way to put your assets to work, earning a kind of digital harvest. The impact here is huge. For people in countries with unstable currencies, DeFi offers a way to save in stablecoins.
For people who can't get a bank account, it's a way to access financial services for the first time. Challenges and risks. Of course, with great innovation comes great risk. The world of DeFi is still in its early days, and it has faced some serious challenges. The biggest risk is security. Remember how we said smart contracts are immutable? That's a double-edged sword. If there's a bug in the code, it's there forever. We saw this in 2021 when the Poly network was hacked for over $600 million due to a simple code error. Then there's the challenge of scalability. When the Ethereum network gets too busy, it's like a digital traffic jam. Gas fees, the cost to make a transaction, can rise dramatically, making small transactions too expensive. And finally, there's user error. There's no customer service. If you lose your private keys or make a mistake, your funds could be gone forever. The future of smart contracts and DeFi. So, where do we go from here? The developers aren't standing still. They are working on solutions to these problems every single day.
One major solution is layer 2 networks like Optimism and Arbitrum. Think of the Ethereum blockchain as a main city street. These layer 2 networks are like a new highway built on top of it. They handle most of the transactions at much faster speeds and for much lower fees, taking the pressure off the main street. We are also seeing the rise of cross-chain bridges, which allow different blockchains to talk to each other. It's like building a bridge between two separate digital cities, allowing you to move your assets from one to the other. The biggest sign of the future is that major financial institutions are getting involved. Banks like JP Morgan are already exploring how to use blockchain and smart contracts to improve their own systems. They see the power of this technology, and that's a sign that it's not just for a small group of enthusiasts anymore. Analysts predict that the value locked in DeFi could reach $1 trillion by 2030.
That's a future where this new financial system is a major force in the global economy. And it all started with a simple idea that code, not trust, could run the world of finance.
Our next chapter is Solana and the race for speed. As crypto grew, a new problem emerged: traffic. The digital highways of Bitcoin and Ethereum, once wide open, were starting to get congested. When everyone rushed to use the networks at the same time, transactions got slow and expensive. Sometimes you'd have to wait for your transaction to go through, and the fee you paid could be as high as $100 or more. In the world of finance and gaming, that's just not an option. You can't wait 5 minutes for a payment to clear, and you certainly can't pay $100 just to move an item in a video game. The industry needed a solution. This is where a new project called Solana came in. Solana was founded in 2017 by a man named Anatoly Yakovenko. He wasn't a crypto native. He was an engineer who had spent years working on building high-speed systems for Qualcomm, a major mobile chip company. He and his team looked at the blockchain's problems and saw a classic engineering challenge. They believed they could build a blockchain that was both incredibly fast and still decentralized. Solana's revolutionary technology. The core of their idea was a breakthrough innovation called Proof of History, or POH. To understand it, think back to what we learned about Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, miners have to solve a puzzle to get a reward, and once they solve it, they can add their transactions to the blockchain. All the computers on the network have to agree on the exact order of every transaction. This process takes time and energy. Proof of history is different. Instead of solving a puzzle, Solana has a cryptographic clock built into its very foundation. It's like a digital metronome that creates a constant, verifiable timestamp. This means that every computer on the Solana network already knows the exact order of every single event without having to talk to each other. They don't have to waste time arguing about the order. This small but brilliant change had a massive impact. Solana was suddenly capable of processing over 65,000 transactions per second, far more than Bitcoin 7 and Ethereum's 15. And because of this efficiency, the transaction fees were practically non-existent, often just a fraction of a cent. For context, this is faster than many traditional payment networks like Visa, building the ecosystem and community. With this new blazing fast highway, developers began to flock to Solana. They saw a place where they could build apps that just weren't possible on older, slower blockchains. This led to a period that the community called Solana Summer in 2021, where the ecosystem just exploded. Developers built new DeFi platforms that could handle high-speed trading. They created bustling NFT marketplaces like Magic Eden, where artists could mint new digital art without their fans paying huge fees. But the real game changer was gaming. With fast and cheap transactions, games like Star Atlas could be built on the blockchain, allowing for real-time interactions and in-game economies. The community grew with incredible speed. They held hackathons that attracted thousands of developers from all over the world, all building new ideas and pushing the limits of what was possible. The challenges and the FTX impact. But the road wasn't smooth. Because the technology was so new, Solana faced some significant growing pains. In 2021 and 2022, the network experienced several major outages, where it would simply go offline for a few hours. The community would be frustrated, and critics would jump on the news, claiming that Solana was unstable and that its speed came at the cost of reliability. This also brought up a key debate in crypto: the balance between speed and decentralization. The high hardware requirements for running a Solana validator node meant that it was much harder for a regular person to participate in securing the network, leading to criticism that it wasn't as decentralized as other blockchains. And then came the ultimate test. Solana had very close ties to the now defunct exchange FTX and its trading arm Alameda Research. When FTX collapsed in late 2022, it was a massive blow to the entire crypto industry, and it hit Solana particularly hard. The price of the SOL token plummeted, and many people assumed the project was dead. But what happened next was a testament to the strength of the developer community. Instead of abandoning the network, they continued to build. The number of developers on Solana remained high, and they saw this as a moment to rebuild and become stronger. The lesson was clear. True decentralization isn't just about the network itself, but about having a broad and diverse group of builders who believe in the technology. The future of Solana. Solana has moved past its challenges and is now pushing the boundaries of what a blockchain can be. They've introduced the Solana mobile stack and the Saga phone, a bold move to create a crypto-native smartphone where the wallet and apps are seamlessly integrated from the start. They're also exploring how to integrate artificial intelligence directly with the blockchain and building new solutions like FireDancer, which is designed to make the network even faster and more reliable. Solana's story is a perfect example of how competition fuels progress in the crypto world. The race for speed isn't about one project winning. It's about pushing the entire industry forward. Whether Solana becomes the single dominant blockchain or just one of many major players, its journey proves that innovation will never stop. The rise of stablecoins. One major problem with Bitcoin and Ether is that their prices move up and down, sometimes very dramatically. This makes them tricky to use for everyday payments, like buying groceries. This is why stablecoins were invented. These are digital coins designed to keep a stable value. Most of them are backed by real-world assets like the US dollar, so one stablecoin is always worth about $1. Stablecoins like Tether, USDT, and USD Coin, USDC, are now used by banks, businesses, and apps for everything from loans to payroll. They give people all the benefits of digital money, speed, and global reach, without the risk of the price changing all the time. In this deep dive, we'll explore the history, types, uses, risks, and the future of stablecoins. The quiet revolution in global finance. As of today, the total market cap of stablecoins has surged past $230 billion, with trillions of dollars in transaction volume annually. It's a system built on stability, and it's here to stay. The volatility problem in crypto. To truly appreciate stablecoins, we first have to understand the core problem they solve. Imagine for a moment that your salary was paid in Bitcoin. One day, you might have enough to buy a new car. But by the end of the week, a sudden market crash could mean your savings are only worth enough for a used bicycle. That extreme volatility is the very reason Bitcoin and other volatile cryptocurrencies have struggled to be adopted as everyday money. For a merchant, accepting a payment in a volatile asset is a huge risk. Imagine a small coffee shop that accepts Bitcoin for a $5 latte. By the time they go to the bank to exchange that Bitcoin for dollars, its value might have dropped to just $2. That's a huge loss. The risk is simply too high. Bitcoin is a great asset for holding value, for storing wealth over the long term, much like a digital version of gold. But for buying groceries, paying for a service, or sending money to a family member, you need something reliable. You need something that won't suddenly lose half its value overnight. This is where stablecoins come in. They are the bridge between the innovative, borderless world of crypto and the stable, familiar world of traditional money.
What are stablecoins?
At their core, stablecoins are cryptocurrencies designed to keep a stable value. The most common type is pegged to the US dollar, which means one stablecoin is always worth about $1. They operate on blockchains like Ethereum and Solana, which gives them all the advantages of crypto. They are fast, borderless, and available 24/7. But they are fundamentally different from Bitcoin. They aren't trying to be an entirely new currency. They are trying to be a digital representation of a dollar, a way to use the value of a dollar on the blockchain. And it's working. What began as a niche idea in 2014 is now a mainstream financial instrument, with over $7 trillion in annual transaction volume by 2025. And unlike a central bank digital currency, which would be issued and controlled by a government, stablecoins are issued by private companies. History and timeline of stablecoins. The story of stablecoins began in 2014 with a little-known project called BitUSD. But the real breakthrough came later that year with the launch of Tether, a stablecoin designed to be a digital dollar. For years, Tether was used mainly by traders on cryptocurrency exchanges to move in and out of volatile assets without having to go back to a traditional bank. But the industry was still wary. Tether was not very transparent about its reserves, and people worried about what was truly backing their tokens. This led to a major turning point in 2018 when Circle and Coinbase introduced USD Coin, USDC. USDC was designed to be a more transparent, regulated alternative, with publicly audited reports proving that every coin was backed by a real dollar. Then, in 2019 and 2020, the DeFi boom happened. Stablecoins suddenly became the lifeblood of this new financial ecosystem, enabling lending, borrowing, and trading without banks. But the journey wasn't without its disasters. The year 2022 brought the collapse of Terra USD, USD, an algorithmic stablecoin that was designed to maintain its value without reserves. In a spectacular crash, it lost its dollar peg and wiped out over $40 billion in value, a stark reminder of the risks involved. Following this event and the FTX collapse, the stablecoin industry doubled down on regulation and transparency. And in 2025, we saw major developments with the implementation of the EU's MiCA framework and the US passing the Genius Act, a landmark federal framework for stablecoin regulation. This is all helping to bring stablecoins into the mainstream financial system, with major companies like Stripe integrating them for payments. Types of stablecoins. There are 4 main types of stablecoins, each with its own way of maintaining its value. The most common are fiat-backed stablecoins. These are like digital IOUs. For every token issued, the company holds an equivalent amount of dollars or other assets in a bank account. USDT and USDC are the two giants in this category, representing over 90% of the market. They are the most trusted because their value is tied to a tangible asset. Next are crypto-collateralized stablecoins. These are backed by other cryptocurrencies. To create one of these, you have to lock up more crypto than you want to borrow. For example, you might put up $150 worth of Ether to get $100 worth of stablecoins. This over-collateralization protects the stablecoin from the volatility of its collateral. DAI is a well-known example of this type. Then we have commodity-backed stablecoins, which are pegged to the value of a physical asset like gold or silver. Pax Gold, for instance, represents real gold held in a vault. Finally, we have algorithmic stablecoins. These are the riskiest type because they have no reserves. Instead, they use smart contracts and algorithms to maintain their value. They worked by creating a system of incentives to keep the price stable. But as we saw with the collapse of Terra USD, if market panic sets in, the system can fail catastrophically. How stablecoins work mechanically? The process of creating and using stablecoins is called minting and redemption. When you want to buy 100 USDC, you send Circle, the issuer, $100. Circle then mints or creates 100 new USDC tokens for you on the blockchain. The $100 you send them is held in a bank account, a reserve to back your tokens. When you want to redeem your tokens for cash, the process reverses. You send the 100 USDC back to the issuer, who burns or destroys them, and then sends you back your $100. This constant process of minting and burning keeps the supply in check and ensures the one-to-one value. Major stablecoins and 2025 market share. As of 2025, the stablecoin market is dominated by two titans. Tether, USDT, holds the lion's share with a market cap of over $155 billion, making up over 2/3 of the total market. It's the king of trading and is used heavily in Asia and emerging markets. Its main competitor, USD coin, USDC, has a market cap of over $50 billion. USDC has gained a reputation for being more transparent and regulated, with monthly attestations to prove its reserves. We are also seeing new players enter the field, including PayPal with its PYUSD, and a consortium of banks working on their own stablecoin projects. And the total market continues to grow, having added over $1 billion in a single day recently. The most significant growth is on new blockchains like Solana and Ton, which provide a faster, cheaper alternative for daily use. Use cases and applications. The uses for stablecoins go far beyond just crypto trading. They are changing real-world finance. Cross-border payments. Stablecoins are a game changer for international money transfers. Instead of paying high fees and waiting days for a bank wire, you can send stablecoins to someone anywhere in the world in seconds for a fraction of a cent. Remittances are over 96% cheaper. DeFi. Stablecoins are the foundation of decentralized finance. You can lend your stablecoins on a platform like Aave and earn interest, or you can use them as collateral for a loan, all without a bank. Payroll and business. Many companies are now paying their remote workers in stablecoins, providing them with a stable, digital form of currency that they can receive instantly. Humanitarian aid. Aid organizations are using stablecoins to transparently distribute funds to people in crisis zones. Every transaction is on the public ledger, ensuring the money gets to who it's intended for. E-commerce. Major payment companies like Stripe now allow businesses to accept stablecoins, extending the dollar's reach globally. Risks and challenges. Stablecoins, for all their benefits, are not without their risks. The biggest fear is a depegging event, where a stablecoin loses its one-to-one value with the dollar. While regulated stablecoins have held up well, the collapse of Terra USD showed that the risk is very real. There is also the risk of fraud. The lack of a central authority means that if you send money to a scammer, there is no one you can call to get your money back. And while audits are becoming more common, there is still a risk that an issuer's reserves are not fully backed, a risk that was highlighted during the 2022 market downturn. Regulatory landscape in 2025. The Wild West days of stablecoins are coming to an end. Governments around the world are now actively working on regulations to bring stablecoins into the formal financial system. In the US, the new Genius Act sets out clear federal rules, including reserve requirements and strict transparency guidelines. In Europe, the MiCA framework now treats stablecoins like electronic money, creating a clear path for companies to operate. This regulatory clarity is a double-edged sword. While it adds compliance costs, it also gives stablecoins legitimacy making it easier for traditional banks and businesses to adopt them. The discussion has now shifted from whether stablecoins should be regulated to how they should be regulated. The Wild West days of stablecoins are coming to an end. Governments around the world are now actively working on regulations to bring stablecoins into the formal financial system. In the US, the new Genius Act sets out clear federal rules, including reserve requirements and strict transparency guidelines. In Europe, the MiCA framework now treats stablecoins like electronic money, creating a clear path for companies to operate. This regulatory clarity is a double-edged sword. While it adds compliance costs, it also gives stablecoins legitimacy, making it easier for traditional banks and businesses to adopt them. The discussion has now shifted from whether stablecoins should be regulated to how they should be regulated. Future outlook and predictions. So, what's next for stablecoins? Experts predict massive growth. The market could hit $500 billion in the short term, with some analysts forecasting a total market cap of up to $3 trillion by 2030. This growth will be driven by new innovations like AI-powered stablecoins and the integration of stablecoins directly into traditional banking apps. The rise of stablecoins is also strengthening the US dollar's global dominance by creating a digital version of it that can be used on a global scale. This puts the US dollar in a strong position to compete with central bank digital currencies from other nations. Stablecoins have proven their value. They provide a simple, effective, and reliable way to move value on the blockchain, and they are paving the way for a new, more inclusive global financial system. If you can own a digital coin, something that's exactly the same as every other digital coin, then why not own a digital masterpiece, a one-of-a-kind painting, a rare song, or a unique character in a video game? This is the core idea behind NFTs, which stands for non-fungible token. In this part of our story, we are going to explore how NFTs are revolutionizing the idea of ownership in the digital world. We'll go from the earliest experiments to the 2021 boom, and we'll see where this technology is headed next. What makes a token non-fungible? To understand NFTs, we first have to understand the word non-fungible. It's just a fancy way of saying something is unique and can't be replaced with an identical item. Think about the coins in your pocket. A dollar is a dollar is a dollar. You can swap $1 bill for another and you still have the exact same value. In the crypto world, Bitcoin is the same. One Bitcoin is completely interchangeable with any other Bitcoin. That makes them fungible. Now think about a rare baseball card or the original Mona Lisa painting. You can't swap those for another one and get the same thing. They are unique. They are non-fungible. A non-fungible token, or NFT, is a digital certificate of ownership for a unique digital item. How NFTs work behind the scenes. The magic of an NFT happens on the blockchain. When an artist or creator makes an NFT, they go through a process called minting. This creates a unique digital certificate on the blockchain. This certificate is the actual NFT. Now here's a common misunderstanding. The actual digital file, the picture or the video, isn't stored on the blockchain itself. That would make the blockchain massive and slow. Instead, the NFT is a special smart contract that acts as a digital pointer. It contains metadata that links to the original file, which is usually stored on a decentralized network like IPFS. So the NFT isn't the art, it's the certificate that proves you own the art. This is a game changer because it creates provable scarcity and ownership for digital goods for the very first time. A brief history of a revolution. Back in 2012, long before anyone said the word NFT, developers experimented with something called colored coins on the Bitcoin network. It was an early attempt to create unique digital assets. A few years later, in 2016, a project called Rare Pepes took off, with collectors trading unique digital images of the internet meme on a separate blockchain. But the first real moment most people heard about NFTs was in 2017 with CryptoPunks and CryptoKitties. CryptoPunks was a set of 10,000 unique pixel art characters. They were originally given away for free. Then came CryptoKitties. This was one of the very first blockchain games. You could breed unique digital cats, each a one-of-a-kind NFT. The game became so popular that it famously clogged the entire Ethereum network because of all the activity. It was a clear sign that people were hungry for digital collectibles.
The boom and the bust. And then came 2021, the year the world went crazy for NFTs. It was a perfect storm of crypto wealth and a global art market looking for something new. The moment that grabbed headlines everywhere was when a digital artist named Beeple sold a single NFT of his work for an astonishing $69 million at the famous auction house Christie's. This sale shattered records and launched NFTs into the mainstream conversation. Suddenly, everyone wanted in. Celebrities like Snoop Dogg and Eminem bought Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, which were not just digital profile pictures, but also gave owners access to an exclusive community. Then there was NBA Top Shot, a marketplace for trading digital basketball highlights. The market exploded with a wave of hype and speculation. Prices soared to dizzying heights, but as with all speculative bubbles, it couldn't last forever. The market cooled in 2022, and many people wrote off NFTs as a passing fad.
Beyond the hype, the real use cases. But the technology never went away. In fact, it's matured beyond the hype into a quiet revolution in digital ownership. NFTs aren't just for art, they are being used for almost everything. Digital art and music. For artists and musicians, NFTs are a way to take back control. They can sell their work directly to fans without a gallery or a record label. And with smart contracts, they can program in perpetual royalties, meaning they automatically get a percentage every time their work is resold. Gaming and collectibles. Imagine a rare sword or skin you buy in a video game. With NFTs, you truly own that item. You could sell it on a marketplace or even use it in another game. This creates a real, portable digital economy for gamers. Virtual real estate. In metaverses like Decentraland, you can buy, sell, and own plots of virtual land as an NFT. Some of these digital plots have sold for millions of dollars. Tickets and events. What if your concert ticket was an NFT? It would be impossible to counterfeit, and it could even give you special perks like access to a pre-show event. After the concert, the ticket could become a unique piece of digital memorabilia. Real-world asset tokenization. This is the most exciting use case of all. Companies are now using NFTs to represent ownership of a physical asset, like a rare bottle of wine, a piece of art, or even a fraction of a real estate property. You can own a piece of $1 million building with a simple NFT in your digital wallet. The challenges, scams, and the future. Of course, a new technology like this attracts a lot of bad actors. Scams are a major risk in the NFT space, from fake projects to phishing attempts. You have to be very careful and do your own research. Another big criticism was the environmental impact of NFTs, especially on energy-intensive blockchains like Ethereum. But with Ethereum's shift to proof of stake and the rise of other eco-friendly blockchains, that issue is largely being solved. The most common criticism you hear is the right-click save argument. People will say, I can just right-click and save the image, so why buy the NFT? But that's like saying you don't need to buy a ticket to a concert because you can just listen to the song on Spotify. The NFT isn't the file itself, it's the verifiable proof of ownership and the key to a community. The future of NFTs is not just about digital art. It's about a future where you can own anything digitally, from your college degree to your medical records. Analysts predict that NFTs will be used in loyalty programs, for digital identities, and for owning a piece of a virtual world that's yours forever. Case studies. CryptoKitties, the first viral NFT project that showed the world a simple game could clog a blockchain and create a new kind of collectible. Beeple, a traditional digital artist who used NFTs to legitimize his digital art and achieve a prize that was once reserved for the world's greatest painters. Bored Ape Yacht Club, a project that proved that NFTs are more than just pictures. They are a ticket to a vibrant community, a digital brand, and a passport to exclusive events. The dark side, meme coins and scams. For all the promise and innovation of cryptocurrency, there is a dark side, a world of incredible risk and deception. As the crypto market grew, it became a playground for fast-talking scammers and cunning schemes. Millions of people, eager to get rich quickly, have fallen victim to a dangerous game. It's a world where a simple joke can become a multi-billion-dollar asset, and where one moment of fear can wipe out your life savings. This is the story of how the excitement of crypto can turn into a nightmare, and what you need to know to protect yourself. What exactly is a meme coin? Let's start with the most talked about part of this dark side, the meme coin. A meme coin is exactly what it sounds like. It's a cryptocurrency that's based on an internet joke, a viral trend, or a pop culture reference. They're often born out of pure fun and community spirit. The very first one, Dogecoin, was created in 2013 as a joke, a playful jab at Bitcoin. It even features the face of a Shiba Inu dog from a popular meme. Unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, most meme coins have no real purpose or value. They don't have a team of developers working to build a new financial system, and they don't have a white paper outlining a grand vision. They are driven by one thing and one thing only: hype. The appeal and the pump and dump. So why do people invest in them? The answer is simple: the dream of getting rich overnight. Social media is the engine that fuels this dream. On platforms like X, TikTok, and Discord, communities form around a new meme coin. They create catchy hashtags, share funny images, and convince people that this coin is the next big thing. This creates intense FOMO, or fear of missing out. This viral hype is often part of a coordinated scheme known as a pump and dump. It works in three simple phases. Accumulation. A small group of insiders buys a large amount of a new low-cost meme coin. They do this quietly, before anyone else knows about it. Promotion. They then go to social media, they pay influencers, and they create a tsunami of hype. They pump the coin's price by getting new people to rush in and buy. The dump. Once the price has reached a high point, the original group of insiders sells all of their coins at once. This massive sell-off floods the market, causing the price to crash almost instantly. The new investors are left holding a coin that is now worthless, and the scammers walk away with all the money. The notorious rug pull. The pump and dump is bad, but an even more devious scam is the rug pull. A rug pull is when the developers of a new project create a coin and get people to invest. They build up a community and promise a great new app or game. Then, once they have a lot of money in the project, they simply disappear, draining all the funds from the project and leaving investors with nothing. A famous example happened with the Squid Game coin in 2021, inspired by the popular Netflix show. The creators built up a huge amount of hype, and investors poured in millions of dollars. But then, without warning, the creators drained all the funds and vanished.
The coin's value fell to zero in an instant. The red flags of a scam. So, how can you protect yourself? In this wild west of crypto, the best tool you have is your own knowledge. Here are some of the most common red flags to watch out for. Anonymous developers. Does the project's team have real names and professional backgrounds? Or are they completely anonymous? A lack of transparency is a major warning sign. High initial dev holdings. Check the blockchain. If the developers own a massive percentage of the coin's total supply, they have the power to dump on everyone. Sudden viral hype. Be skeptical of projects that appear out of nowhere with a huge amount of hype. They are often a sign of a coordinated promotion. Promises of impossible returns. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. No one can guarantee that you will make 100 times your money in a week. Locked liquidity promises. This is a technical point, but it's crucial. Scammers will often say that the project's funds are locked, but they'll use a fake contract or a trick to get around it. Always use a tool to check for yourself. Psychological tactics and regulation. Scammers are not just targeting your wallet, they are targeting your emotions. They use a sense of urgency to make you act without thinking. They use social proof by showing thousands of fake followers and positive comments to convince you that everyone else is investing. The biggest psychological weapon they have is your own greed. The good news is that authorities around the world are getting smarter. Government agencies are now actively investigating and prosecuting these scams, and regulatory bodies are calling for better oversight of decentralized exchanges. It's an ongoing fight, but it shows that the industry is trying to grow up. Part 13. Beyond Currency. Blockchain in the Real World. An animation showing the house with a digital certificate of ownership. A close-up on a shipment of goods with a QR code. Beyond Currency. Blockchain in the Real World. So far, we've talked a lot about Bitcoin and Ether, about digital money and a new kind of finance. But the true power of blockchain isn't just in currency. It's in the idea of a secure, transparent, and unchangeable record of information. Imagine if you could build a digital system where trust wasn't a choice, it was guaranteed by math. That's the real promise of this technology, and it's quietly revolutionizing industries you interact with every single day. In this part of our story, we'll explore how blockchain is moving from the world of crypto millionaires to a world of real-world impact. What makes blockchain so powerful? To understand the revolution, let's quickly recap the three key features of a blockchain. First, it's decentralized. There is no single company or single server that controls the network. The information is spread across thousands of computers all over the world, so no one can shut it down. Second, it's immutable. Once a record is added to the blockchain, it cannot be altered or deleted. It's like a permanent digital stamp that proves a piece of data existed at a certain time. And third, it's transparent. For public blockchains, anyone can look at the data. All the records are out in the open for the world to see and verify. This unique combination of a public, unchangeable, and decentralized ledger is what makes it so useful for things far beyond digital money. Blockchain in real estate. Let's start with a big one, buying a house. Buying a house is one of the most stressful experiences of a person's life. It involves endless paperwork, expensive lawyers, title companies, and weeks of waiting. The entire system is built on layers of trust and intermediaries, all of whom charge a fee. But what if you could put the ownership of a house on a blockchain? The deed would be a simple digital token. When you sell the house, you just send the token to the new owner, and the transfer is done. Instantly, securely. A process that takes months and thousands of dollars could happen in minutes for pennies. Companies like Propi are already using blockchain to record property deeds and automate the entire buying process. You can even use smart contracts to automate parts of the deal, like putting money in escrow and only releasing it when the deed is successfully transferred.
And it gets even more interesting. What if a property was too expensive for one person to buy? With blockchain, you can split a single property into hundreds or even thousands of digital shares or tokens and sell them to investors around the world. This is called tokenized real estate, and it's making property investment accessible to anyone with an internet connection. Blockchain in supply chains. Now, let's talk about the journey of a product from a farm to your dinner table. The traditional supply chain is a messy, opaque system. It's a network of different companies, all using different systems, making it nearly impossible to track an item from beginning to end. This is how counterfeit goods and food fraud thrive. Blockchain provides a solution to this problem with a secure and transparent record. Imagine a simple QR code on a box of strawberries. With every stop on its journey, from the farm to the truck to the warehouse to the grocery store, the information is scanned and added to the blockchain. You can pull out your phone and scan the code and instantly see where your food came from, who handled it, and how long it took to get to you. Major companies are already using this technology. Walmart uses a blockchain to trace produce in a matter of seconds. IBM created a platform called Food Trust to help companies track products and resolve recalls almost instantly. It builds trust for the consumer and creates efficiency for the business. Blockchain in voting systems and healthcare. When it comes to something as critical as voting, trust is everything. Traditional voting systems are often criticized for their security flaws, miscounts, and lack of transparency. With blockchain, we could build a voting system where every vote is recorded on a secure ledger that can't be tampered with. The votes would be verifiable by anyone, but the voter's identity would remain completely anonymous. It could be the foundation of a new, more trustworthy form of online voting. And in healthcare, blockchain could be a lifesaver. Right now, your patient records are scattered across different doctors and hospitals, making them difficult to access and share. What if you owned your own medical records as a secure blockchain file? You could give a new doctor or specialist instant, temporary permission to view your entire history, ensuring they have the most accurate information to help you. It could also be used to track pharmaceuticals, helping to prevent counterfeit drugs from entering the supply chain. Crypto goes mainstream. All of these ideas would have seemed crazy just a few years ago, but the world is catching up. By 2024, the crypto world was no longer a small niche thing. Big investment firms wanted in, so they created Bitcoin and Ether ETFs or exchange traded funds, which are like traditional stocks that track the price of a cryptocurrency. This made it much easier for everyday people to invest without having to deal with the complexities of holding crypto themselves. Banks started building their own crypto teams, offering services for their biggest clients. And governments, which had once been skeptical, began to create a legal framework for this new technology. In Europe, new rules called MiCA were created to help guide companies and protect users. While in the US, the new Genius Act is creating a clear path for regulated stable. Even some countries, like El Salvador, have experimented with making Bitcoin an official form of money. It all shows that the global conversation is no longer about whether this technology is real. It's about how we can build a safe, secure, and regulated future with it. Other emerging applications. The potential is truly endless. Imagine using a blockchain to protect intellectual property, so artists and creators get paid fairly and automatically. Create digital diplomas and certifications that can't be faked. Track donations to charity with complete transparency, so you can see your money reached its destination. The story is still being written, and with every new innovation, blockchain moves further into our daily lives. The future of crypto. So, after all of this, where are we headed? The story of crypto is far from over. In fact, we are still in the very early chapters. We've moved beyond the initial days of a simple digital currency to a world of endless possibilities. New blockchains are always arriving, each with a different approach to solving old problems. Older coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum are constantly improving and adding more speed and security. Businesses are starting to move everything from payroll to customer rewards onto the blockchain. Artists and creators are pushing the boundaries of Web3, looking for new ways to own music, property, and ideas that are truly theirs forever. The story is not finished. It is still being written every single day. And the most exciting part, you can be a part of it, whether as a curious user, a creative builder, or a careful investor. This was the journey of crypto, from a forgotten idea in the 1980s to the mainstream world of today. It's a world built on a simple premise that technology can give us new freedom, more control, and new possibilities. It's a journey that began with one person's vision to create a currency of the people and for the people. Thank you for joining Zalwora and spending this time with us. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more insights into the stories that are shaping our world. For more detailed reports and analysis on wealth creation and the future of finance, please visit www.zalwora.ae. You can also follow us on X and Instagram with the handle @Zalwora. We'll see you next time.